So forget about, politicians. I keep on saying it. We have a problem, and it is catching up with them because the country is burning, the country is bleeding, and then of course, instead of solving this problem, we are busy campaigning, telling the people that we want to be their president or we want to be their governor.
Um, my question for you, Reverend Hayab, let's talk about our oneness and our unity, because this is on the table right now. Our unity as a people. The toll that these killings, these uprisings that happen every now and again, take on the country, how long can it hold? Because it seems like everybody's playing, is dodging the question, dodging the real issue here. Nobody really wants to address it. And as we can see, many people just put out statements and that's it, done deal. What about decisive positions to be taken?
The one of this is our intolerance. We are not tolerating one another. We are not willing to live together. Let me put it this way. Today is observed as the International Day of Living Together. And the essence of that day by the United Nations is courage, friendship, love, fellowship, and togetherness. That we're living together in our country. I cannot entrust my son to travel all those distances to come and school in your area, and on a slightest provocation, you kill him or you kill her. Where is the togetherness? One of the things that's going on around us that has become so disturbing is the kind of intimidating lifestyle that people intimidate others as if others do not have a right in this country, as if others do not have a say in this country. How can we live as a nation and build a nation together where you don't look at me as an equal partner, you don't look at me as a fellow human being that contributes to the table? Everything about me is wrong. It is only your own.
So why are we not having the conversation about it?
When you have such situations.
This is my question again. Are we not due to have a conversation about the entity Nigeria? I'm not trying to put out any notion.
Well,
but are we not due to have that conversation about our unity and our oneness?
National conference, but some people refuse that and never come to the discussion and have refused to bring the decision of the national conference into the table. And that's why there is no decision that is our own. The constitution we are using today was just pushed to us by the military juntas. Did we really write that constitution to say we, the people of Nigeria? This is the situation we are. And that's why our togetherness is being shaken. The foundation of our togetherness is shaken until our leaders become honest and sincere and willing to give room and a platform for an engagement to discuss our collective togetherness. We will continue to support. Thank you.
Mr. Makri, for how long? How many more people have to die? How many more bones have to be crushed? And how many people will turn to ash before that conversation can happen? And do you see any change happening anytime soon for us to achieve this peaceful coexistence, knowing that we're very diverse people, but then, of course, they say it's our diversity and our cultures that unite us. But how long can we ride under the sweet and nice, dandy statements as opposed to coming to terms with the reality on ground?
The more we do the same thing the same way, we will come to the same failed report. The result is not going to change. So like I said, we have to take a break. As a country, we need to take a break and then review. Companies do that, and that's why companies succeed. If there's any crisis, they have to take a break, review what is going on, what are the processes, who have dropped the ball, and then from there you go ahead. Because one thing, this thing they call leadership is becoming a problem, where the governors, even local government chairmen, university leaders, where this thing is happening. How have they done? What have been put in place to make sure that things like this don't happen? People will always blame the president anyway, but when you come to think about it, there are other leaders and they are not doing what they are supposed to do. Religious leaders who don't want to do anything about it. We have the churches filled with fundamentalists. We have the mosques filled with fundamentalists, all of them holding very, very strongly to their own beliefs. But we are living in a country that is secular. So what does secular mean? Many people don't even know what secular means. So how far are we going about teaching them? Nobody's teaching anybody anything. So I think we have to take a break, call off the time, and then go in and restart.
Okay. Well, pause and then play. Well, I want to say thank you. Dennis Amakri is a former Deputy Director of the DSS, and of course, Reverend Joseph Hayab is of CAN in Northern Nigeria. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And thank you all for staying with us. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we discuss political parties and their finances, as INEC states that they have refused to submit financial statements to the Commission since 2016. We'll be right back.
You see, the greatest robbery of this election, Marianne, is the fact that it has been, because of the misrule of President Muhammadu Buhari, it has become an ethnic issue rather than an economic issue, rather than an issue of saving our education sector, rather than the insecurity in the Northeast and in all parts of the North. Now everybody is more concerned about where the president comes from than what the president can do, because everybody has seen the marginalization, the ethnicentrism that has been at play under the APC.
There is a northern president that will be completing 8 years in 2023. And let me restate that the presidency is not of the party. The presidency is the president of the country. So whether it is APC or whether it is PDP or whether it is any other party, he is the president of Nigeria, not the president of the party. And for us, and I speak on behalf of Afeni Ferret,
Indications have emerged that the refusal of political parties to submit to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, their annual financial statements as required by the Constitution and the Electoral Act has prevented the Commission from monitoring their finances and publishing the same as mandated by the Constitution. INEC has confirmed that it audited the accounts of the parties up to 2016 and it had gone far on their 2017 and 2018 accounts whilst awaiting the remaining years. Now, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu said at a meeting with chairmen of political parties in March 2021 that only one political party complied with the constitutional provision, warning that their refusal to comply was in contravention of the law. Section 86 of the Electoral Act mandates that every political party must submit its detailed annual statement of account to the Commission. Well, joining us to discuss this is Bolahon Olojede. He's an economist, and Paul James is the program manager of elections for Yaga Africa. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to start with you, Bolahon. The major question that everybody is asking is that these political parties constantly know that what is expected of them legally in terms of making these reports, their financial reports, known to not just INEC, but making it plain so that people can actually say, well, you're doing the right thing or not. I remember sometime in 2014, SERAP actually petitioned the political parties, especially the APC and the PDP, to make their accounts public so that people can tell if they were going above the spending. But we're in 2022 and that still has not been done. What do you think is responsible for the foot dragging?
Well, I think, what is the punishment for not doing it? 1 million naira fine. So who cares about a million naira fine? That's what the law says. The official or a political party that fails to obey that section of the Electoral Act should be liable to 1 million naira fine. Is that punitive enough? Is that something that could push a political party to want to obey? I don't think so. And I'm surprised as to why this has remained the punishment for non-compliance, because it's actually a very fundamental issue to know who is donating money, big money, to political parties and how the money is being spent. The accountability, the asset and liability and the expenses of the parties must be known and must be made public to Nigerians. This thing is actually meant to be published in 2 newspapers. But if the information are not there, the audit has not been concluded, what will INEC have to publish? And if the political parties don't comply, what is the punishment? The officer or the political party that does not comply will pay a 1 million fine or 6 months jail. I don't think that is enough to push the political parties to comply.
So there needs to be more deterrence. But let me move to Paul. Paul, let's talk about election expenditure and third-party spending. We know, and you and I know, that putting parties in check even becomes dire when it's full-fledged campaign season. We see that, a lot of people will say, well, this person has sponsored, this person is sponsoring, these people are giving us money to do this. And it has far-reaching effects. Could this also be part of the problems that INEC is grappling with? And what could be the way to deal better with this, issues? Like Bolaho has said, 1 million naira is chicken change for these political parties or these politicians, a slap on the wrist. But then maybe if the jail term could be put over that, maybe that would be enough deterrent. What do you think?
Well, I think first I would like us to start extracting even the political party systems we have, the political party structures we have in the country. Oftentimes you see immediately after the election, INEC will go by the registering parties that didn't perform well in an election. We saw a case, for instance, the 2019 election, where well over 60 parties were deregistered at the end of the election. And so for a few that are also remaining, sometimes reorganizing or restructuring these parties also take a little time. For instance, most of these parties are just concluding their either congresses or even election of their officials. I mean, that happened just in recent time. And even on the part of INEC, sometimes I feel like there is complacency, especially from the department in INEC that's supposed to be responsible for tracking the expenses of the political parties and even the activities of the political parties. I mean, the election and party monitoring department in INEC. So I feel those are the places to start the conversation from. First, to look at the political party structure and also even on the part of INEC. There have been a lot of contravention of this law. This does not even start now. I like the fact that you are going back as far as even 2014, 2015 to see. And then, like the other, my co-panelists had also mentioned, the challenge also of sanction is still there. But then the biggest thing is also about the inability of the agencies of government, of the structures in place to even track political party spending. This is a country where we have seen individuals donating as much as 100 million to political parties, where the law is clear about what an individual can spend, what parties can spend. It is difficult to track some of these sort of this sort of donations that come to political party. Now, we even have a bigger challenge ahead of us for the coming election. The new electoral act is saying the parties can spend up to about 5 million naira or 5 billion naira for the presidential contest. These expenses have started already with the purchase of funds. These expenses have started with the administrative fees that people are paying. These expenses have started with even monies that people are paying to the state secretariat. We are striking them. At what point will INEC begin the striking? Even if political parties are failing, for the few that INEC have tracked, INEC can even come public to begin to tell the public what the parties are doing. Maybe that will spur the parties to do the needful. That will spur the parties to do what is expected of them.
Bolaho, I want to take it up from where Paul has stopped. Let me paint a picture. For example, the monies that politicians spend under the table, I mean, they run into billions. And we, just as he said, some parties you have to pay 100 million to pick a ticket, a nomination form in the first instance. And this is not the monies that you're going to spend campaigning. That's just an aside. And the Electoral Act, you know, actually is against all of this, like he has also said. But then you spoke about the deterrence, and my mind, I'm still tinkering on it. The fact that INEC has not really necessarily made moves to start striking, like Paul has said, and the fact that this might continue to happen because it's a vicious cycle, does that not boil down to the lawlessness that we have in the country in general? I'm talking about the fact that Nigeria has so many laws that addresses almost everything, but we never really get to see the enforcement of these laws. So why are we even having this conversation in the first place?
Okay, I'm going to also speak from the perspective of an auditor. Well, the earliest job I did in my life was as an auditor. I'm a chartered accountant. Most of the money that moves around within the political circles happens it happens in cash. The problem with cash is traceability. Where is the track of money that is being spent in cash? So I need to pay for a service and I pay in cash. Somebody is donating to me, and instead of transferring money or issuing a check, decide to give me some cash in dollars. How do you account for that? How do you track that? What will an auditor see that will help him to unravel that situation? So part of the problem we have is how the spending have been, how do I put it now, substantially in cash. Go ask anybody who has been to all those delegate spending areas. All those things are in cash. They come with naira in cash. They come with dollars.
But Bolaho, do you think that this is actually deliberate? This is a strategy that is being employed by these politicians and the parties to evade some of these the policies that are within the Electoral Acts. The fact that it might, one way or the other catch up with them, and so this might be a way of, evading all of that.
Definitely, it's part of the game. You leave all those money that will make you break the rule. You keep them totally off the books. They won't be by transfer. They will be by currency, cash. So it is left for you to know how you want to capture that, or you capture it totally off the books of the organization. Now, INEC and the Electoral Act is aware of this possibility. So there is also a part where it mentioned an accountant who helps political parties to cook books. And he has a sanction for that accountant. Having said that, the way we use cash in our electoral process makes it easy for political parties to beat the rules. They will declare what they want to declare. They will pass through the system what they want to pass through the system, and they will leave the rest completely out of the books.
Let's talk about the campaign finance law. I'm bringing back to you, Paul. Do we think that the political parties understand the campaign finance law for them to be totally in adherence? Again, if we have had issues like this dating back to 2014, and it's left, I mean, kudos to people like Serap. Serap has continuously put government on their toes in terms of accountability. Whether they've made a leeway or not is another conversation, for another day. But has it not come to a point where maybe these acts or these parts of the electoral or finance law needs to be, amended so much so that there will be stiffer sanctions? Because I mean, if we keep complaining about these issues year in, year out, and then we still have the same conversations and we say, well, we know this and that, but they're not doing this, we're waiting on. How much longer can we go around in these circles? Again, we're looking at trust here. We're looking at people who we want to bring into power to lead us, people who we can trust with our monies, with the future of our country. If we cannot trust them at the point where they're trying to pick who runs on the platform of these parties, and we cannot trust them in terms of running their own finances, how can we trust them with the offices that we're giving to them?
I like the point you're making about trust here, and especially because it has become a very expensive commodity in our electoral democracy. If it is not for the question of trust, politicians will have devised another means of engaging with the voters, of buying off the voters. Because of the lack of trust, that is where you are seeing the exchange of cash as a transaction, in the whole transaction chain. But then again, the laws are there, like we know, but it is because, of course, people have found other means of breaking the laws. For instance, cash for vote. I give you an instance. You go back to the Ekiti election in 2018. It's as simple as one party is giving them 4,000, another party is giving voters 5,000. And you can trace these funds, sometimes even back to the government, sometimes to some individuals that are connected to the government. It's not like we don't know this thing. It's the political will, it's the determination to do that is lacking. But then what is the point going forward? I think for me is to begin to talk about a whole reform, a complete structural reform, especially finance reforms in our own elections. We should begin to see how we will de-emphasize the impact of money in our election and encourage other means of bringing up legitimate candidates in our own election. I think that is, for me, where to start from. For instance, if the issue of 100 million become a permanent feature in our democracy, I bet you by the time you come to the next cycle of election, these resources would be double. And then if you look at the ripple effect on other aspects of the economy, and then also the gap that will continue to exist between the have and the have-nots, it brings up also challenge, especially in the leadership recruitment process. So this is a whole chain that needs to be addressed. But I feel the first to do is to begin to talk about what sort of reforms we want to see in our own finance. I agree, for instance, like ₦1 million for violating this law, I think is, for me, ridiculous. We need to see a review done to this to see how we can increase this. Perhaps that could help to sanitize the process. It is one way to go. But most importantly, also a mindset reorientation in all of these things. Parties not need to be told, for instance, anybody that will want to work with a party or vote for a party, we want to do that based on the part that they can trust the party, like you said, that the party is opening its books, that the party is open to being probed even by the public. So, let us start from there. We don't even need INEC to shout on the party or the public to shout on the party. A party that is really open, that is really that is futuristic and also is people-oriented, should begin to even open its book even without INEC or even the public access. I think for me, those are the kind of reorientation or mindset reorientation we want to start seeing in our own elections.
Okay, and finally, Bolahan, as a money man, we're pushing for all kinds of electoral reforms, as Paul has said, but then we forget the most important, which is the money. And he's also talked about the rippling effect of these increase in monies for nomination forms and, campaign monies. So there's a mopping up of cash, which affects the average person out there. And maybe we don't really realize, the effect it's having on us. So what do we do aside from, just calling for these reforms? How does the common person get involved? again, I want to go through the political party membership aspect. The average person who holds, whether it PDP, APT, SDP, APGA, what do they call it, ID, membership card, does that person count? Does that person's voice count, apart from the money bags within the party? Maybe if that is also included in the reforms, maybe the opening of books would be easily done. I'm just wondering.
Okay, that's a whole lot. The journey to where you foresee is going to take us a while. That is because the attitude of the politicians, and don't forget that the politicians are not outside of the decision makers themselves. So at the state level, when we're speaking of the politicians, we're talking about the governor, who is the boss at the state level. At the federal level, you're talking about the president. So these same people are decision makers. At the same time, they are politicians. The same with the lawmakers. The lawmakers are politicians, and they're also the ones that are making the laws. So for us as citizens and for civil liberty organizations and other stakeholders, we need to get more involved. See, in reality, the kind of democracy that we have adopted, which is more or less like the American bicameral
legislation
model, is an expensive model, very expensive. In America, for example, I remember Obama raised an equivalent of over 400 billion naira to prosecute the election in his first election in America as president. So, here is the difference. The difference is that America follows the money.
Yeah.
We know exactly who are the people that donated this money. And the base of donation is wider. In Nigeria, only very few people make that money available. And that affects the independence of those parties. Those money bags can actually exercise very strong influence on what happens within the party. It's slightly different from where the money source is wider.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you. Unfortunately, our time is fast spent. Bolahon Olojede is an economist, and of course, Paul James is of Yiaga Africa. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of the conversation. We hope to have more of these in the future.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Well, we've come to the end of the show tonight. I want to thank you all for staying with us. And Plus Politics returns tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. on your #1 station. I'm Mary Aniko, and I'll see you tomorrow as we continuously talk for development. Have a good evening.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Who would have thought that the faith of Leah Sharibu would make a nation struggle for survival?
Who would have thought that a line from the Bible we'd be stronger than a rifle? made this girl just to die down to the night. She is the hero of faith. Heroes of faith, the scar from the battle is their greatest title, not silver or gold. Heroes of faith, their greatest reward is the cross of the word, not riches untold. When all is said and done, their light keeps shining on and on and on.
Who would have thought that 4 years would go by and the nations would stand by in silence and pretend no wrong was done?
Who would have thought that no amount of darkness can quench the smallest light? Oh, daughter of Zion, keep shining on. You are the hero of faith.
Heroes of faith, the scar from the battle is their greatest title, not silver or gold. Heroes of faith, their greatest reward is the cross and the word, not riches untold. When all is said and done, their light keeps shining on. Shining, shining, shining. Oh, shine a light.
Something about the Lord. His love is his power,
And there is no lover that can give his life and die for his friends. Something about the Lord. His kingdom is forever. He will rule the world with power in righteousness, peace, and joy. He is the hero of faith. Oh,
Heroes of faith, the scar from the battle is their greatest title, not silver or gold. Heroes of faith, their greatest reward is the cross and the word, not riches untold.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Musaiwa Mesale, and today Mani and I are holding the fort. Hi Mani. I can't move too much. Oh, thank you. It's been a long time I experienced pain this much.
You just need someone to hold you and massage your neck.
Seriously, Abby. I need a heavy, excruciating pain. Like when I was driving, I had to be this still, because if I enter any small pothole, I feel the pain in my spine.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, but you need to actually have someone help you. If not, the pain would become worse.
Right?
Yes, you need.
Okay, I have to go and get a masseuse with that.
How are you? I'm good. I'm alright.
How was your weekend? Any AMVCA drama?
No, we watched them online
on TV. Yeah. I attended the event. It was quite good. It was beautiful. Nigerians have really stepped up their game when it comes to red carpet.
Yeah, they have.
The only challenge is, why did they overbook? Why did they over? So there were too many people waiting, and the hall was full. People were standing.
Oh, really?
So there was.
So that means they didn't use a very big hall.
No. So is the Eco Hotel Convention Center what they call that hall?
Big one.
Yeah, but what they did, they will split it because they have an after party.
Of it. Yeah.
They will have an after party, so they have half of the hall, the after party, then half, but it still wasn't, a lot of people were standing, go and see celebrities all in their
standing
in their gears, and most of them standing. They couldn't get chairs to sit. It was just, but it was really beautiful, right?
So you
and I
skipped-
loved the stunts that Ike and DME played.
Oh, really? What was that? What happened?
So Ike was like saying a joke about DME. DME now goes, Will Smith, take your name out of, take my name out of your. Then I can say, oh, okay, no problem. DME gets up and is now walking towards the stage. As he just reached stage, 2 bouncers just lifted him from the ground. I can say, you think this is Hollywood? He said, this is not the Oscars.
I like that. I like that.
He said, before I go talk about it, I came prepared.
And
really nice.
nobody would even take that.
Ike, I love the way he hosts events. He just makes it
It's
so
natural.
very natural.
It just comes very natural. To
I
Ike,
love
yeah.
him.
like
I love
Ike.
him. Honestly,
I like
I would love to interview him one of these days because he's one of.
I can hook you up.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, Ike
Okay.
is my friend.
Oh yeah, now hook us up. Let's gist with him
Yes.
because he's a natural. I mean, I just
Yeah.
love the way he handles.
Yes, and you know he's been doing this
for
for
years,
many years.
for
So
years.
it's normal.
Yeah.
It's second nature.
I really
to
love him. And he's our Edo brother, so we have
Yes,
to rep-
exactly. Why not?
All right, so we found a very interesting video online though. Money and politics. No, Mondays is always political issues, governance and leadership. So we're discussing money and politics. And the quote we found for today is, the only way to get money out of politics is to get politics out of money making. I mean, this was so apt because our politics right now is a money making venture. So, and that's the only way. If you want to take out money, you must take out the money making part of politics. So a video recently surfaced online of Senator Ademola Adeleke, a governorship aspirant, announcing to voters that he has arrived with a lot of cash. Not just naira, but dollars, pounds, and euro.
What?
So today, Kule Lawal is here to discuss the politics of money and its impact on good governance. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. All right, you're still watching Ways, the International Day of Living Together in Peace, held on the 16th of May every year. The day is celebrated on the 16th of May throughout the world, and with its annual observance, it aims to urge people to live together in a united and peaceful way. Individuals can attain this by listening to each other and respecting one another despite their differences. Living together in peace is all about accepting differences and having the ability to listen to recognize, respect, and appreciate others, as well as living in a peaceful and united world. So this is a very, very important day, especially in Nigeria, with the recent, killing of the young girl in Sokoto, right? It just tells you that we have so much intolerance, for other people.
Yeah.
We don't make excuses for people who are not, it's not going my way, then
It's my way or
the
the
highway. So this is a very important day, and I'm hoping that, so for Nigeria, I hear that it is impossible for us to live in peace because of the foundation. So that the only way we can come back to that point of peace is if we go back to the foundation, the root, and say, okay, where did we make errors, and correct it from the foundation, right? So not just shoving a nation on people's throats. Instead, everybody come together, come on the table and say, okay, you know what? This is why we have to be together. I've heard that argument, and I think it makes sense. So it's just like, for instance, you are in, what would I call it now, in a marriage or something, right? If the foundation is faulty, instead of trying so hard to live together in peace, sometimes it's important for you to go back to the root. Where was it done wrong? And you now sit down and say, okay, do we really want to be together as husband and wife? If the answer is yes, what are you bringing to the table? What am I bringing to the table? Then we then sit down. And I think that is a healthier way, so everybody understands and respects everybody's, abilities and whatever it is that they're bringing to the table. And that's where we are with our country right now in Nigeria, right? We have so many agitations everywhere, different groups and everything. So the only sensible thing to do is actually to sit down and say, okay, how can we attain
How can we get
peace?
married?
Yes. How can we
The
get
marriage of
married?
the nation
Yes. How can we
and
get
live in
married
peace?
and live peacefully?
And if we can't get married and live in peace,
So what do we
Let's
need to do?
just
Do you understand? You
go
can
our
even make it a
separate
transaction.
ways.
We don't have to be at peace with each other, but you have something that I want. I have something that you want. So let's make it a transaction. And how can we make it a fantastic transaction, right? So as opposed just sitting down and just shoving it under everybody's nose that you must be together as one. It doesn't work anymore because everybody's wiser. Everybody has seen this is what I'm capable of doing without the nation. So if you want me, then you must tell me what you're giving to me, what you're offering.
Yeah, but at the same time, so many people are still rooting for one Nigeria. So if it's not working, because I don't know, I think we're still going to be one, you know, in spite
I
of...
love the idea of us being one. You don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we should...
You're just saying that
I'm
they
saying
should
that-
come to the table and then address it again. And
Yes.
then agree, consent to
Thank
being
you.
one.
There should be a consensus that this is why we need to be one.
But you know what? If you check it, like now we have, since we are still talking about this whole Sokoto thing, the governor of Sokoto has come out to make a statement. The Sultan of Sokoto has come out to make a statement. So even if these leaders come and sit at the round table and they agree to live together in peace with every other state, how about the other people in the state? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because even as it is right now, the leaders are in agreement with this peace. And they are not even, you know, mixing word right now. They what they're saying is that they do not condone.
You must back your words with actions.
Some of them, are not.
Some of them are
ready to
not,
back.
and that's why there will always be that gap, you know, at some point. Let's move on quickly. What did you find for us in the news?
Okay, so today in the news, I found Kaduna government bans any form of religious protest. So it says that the Kaduna state government on Saturday banned any form of religious protest, just as it warned that any violator will be prosecuted. The governor, Nasi Ahmed El Rufai, has charged security agencies to ensure strict enforcement of this ban against any form of religious protest in the state. The governor also charged religious leaders, community leaders, and traditional rulers throughout the state to complement the efforts of government and security agencies towards the maintenance of peace and stability. Security agencies have thus resolved that any attempt by individuals or groups to disrupt the peace and stability of the state by way of religious protest will not be condoned. This step by the government is an attempt to prevent the ongoing violent protest in Sokoto over the arrest of the killer of Shehu Shagari College of Education student Sokoto. The protest, according to the authorities, has led to injuries, although nobody has been confirmed dead, but properties belonging to the people and churches have allegedly been burnt by the irate protesters. Yeah, so I think, you know, what's so funny is the fact that the government have stood up to tell everybody to step down. Government agencies come out and take charge. So what they should see and realize is that at the end of the day, the laws of the land are still supreme. So when I say supreme, I'm saying that they're still higher than our religious laws. So why in the first place would you think about taking the laws into your hands? You understand? If you say somebody commits this crime against your religion, your laws, whatever, what is supposed to reign supreme over every other law is the law of the state. Now the government have stepped up to say everybody stay at home, you know, no more protests, no more religious protests. And they're going to say yes to that, because if they do not, then the government agencies will take control.
Absolutely. I think we need more of that across board. So airline operators of Nigeria have announced plans to disrupt scheduled flight operations over scarcity of aviation fuel. This was an announcement that was signed by the spokesperson, Professor Biora. The operator lamented that aviation fuel scarcity would lead to flight rescheduling and cancellation. The airline operator wishes to alert the public of impending disruptions of flights, operations of members of association. The development is being forced on by the growing scarcity of aviation fuel, popular as Jet A1. The scarcity is impacting negatively on the seamless conduct of air transport operations and would lead to flight rescheduling and cancellation. Remember last week we were taking the story where they said that the government was giving them some form of subsidy and all of that.
Yeah.
Now they are coming back again to say that there's a lot of scarcity in aviation. Currently, right now, air travel seems to be the most reliable travel right now within Nigeria.
Reliable and safe.
Right? So now when we're having this, it's a big issue. Well, we're hoping that we can find... So I'm really tired of all this conversation around our oil and gas sector, because I still cannot understand why certain things cannot just work. You know, why can't we have a functional refinery? Why can't we have us producing some of this fuel ourselves? Why do we have all these shortages? The thing still just bothers my head. But you know what? I will probably look for an expert to bring in on Wednesday to discuss this, so that we can have clarity on what the way forward. Because even me, I felt that subsidy or whatever it was, it is still not, it's like you're compounding the problem. We're already facing subsidy on petrol. You are now worsening the situation. Let us just face our reality.
It, yes.
And let us even know what, and let's know what our reality is. So we stop, because again, the corruption that has ensued from some of these, conversations, it's just too alarming. So let's just face it fair and square and know where we are as a nation. If we are going to be paying 200K to Abuja,
so be it. So everybody, whatever is not necessary, then you don't even begin.
You will not try. You will sit down in your house.
Yes.
All right. So we'll come back from the break as we discuss the politics of money, right, and the impact on good governance. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You are the one to decide. This your Ragidi. Ever pay, ever for ya. So by that, I want you. What you want there? I miss you. I miss you. Enjoy not a bit. What all alone? I miss you. He was a naira. He's a naira. Fire for fire.
Nisuru. Thanks for staying with us. I wish I understood the Yoruba completely. Well, I had pounds, I had dollars, I had euros. Fire for fire, you know. So money is a necessary component of any democracy. It enables political participation, campaigning, and representation. However, if not effectively regulated, it can undermine the integrity of political processes and institutions and jeopardize the quality of democracy. Thus, regulations related to the funding of political parties and election campaign, commonly known as political finance, are a critical way to promote integrity, transparency, and accountability in any democracy. Good governance at all levels is fundamental to economic growth, political stability, and security. Good governance leads to improved economic benefit in a globalized world, and it accelerates economic transitions. But is good governance rather really possible in a society that has been infiltrated by politics of money? That's the question we're asking today. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-8663. You can also tweet at us at Wayshow, Africa1 with the hashtag Wayshow. All right, so I'm going to bring in Kunle Lawal in a minute, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts, because, you know, we're talking behind the scene how everybody, you know, we had talked about this topic last week when we talked about presidency. Like, it seems like everybody wants to run for president. Like, now, you know, and you made a very poignant point when you said that it seemed corruption has just, you know, demystified that office of the presidency, right? You know, everybody just feels like with money, I can do anything. So you see a lot of people. I saw one post online today where somebody was talking about her husband. I hear he's a rich man, very wealthy billionaire and all of that. And people just feel like money is just enough, you know, to run for political offices. You know, nobody's paying attention or putting some form of value or what's it called, to the governance part of politics. You know, it's just not is one thing to win an election. It's another thing for you to actually be a good person to govern the state or whatever it is, the nation or whatever it is that is entrusted in your care, right? So what do you think, right?
Yeah, it's really annoying. And like I said before, I used to think that this seat of the president was a very, very important one.
Prestigious.
Very prestigious. But right now, they have demystified it. Like I said, there's nothing about it anymore that is mysterious. It's easy. You know, like I was saying, that very soon we'll have Boy Scouts, you know, coming out and running for presidency. So for me, I think that the concept of good governance is not a new one. You understand? Good governance is as old as human civilization. So it's just about decision making and the process of implementing these decisions. So when we are looking at decision making and the process of implementing the decisions, then we have to analyze governance. Then we can say whether this is good governance or bad governance. And when we are looking at good governance, then we'll think about the characteristics of a good governance, which involve transparency and accountability. Integrity. You know, in accordance with the rule of law. So now what we have, when we see these people coming out and throwing money around, like money is what would make you a good president, then I think we have to go back to the books and look at our governance process. How do we do the things that we do? You understand? So like you said before, in order to change things, sometimes we have to go to the root and then tackle the problems at the root. So I think we need to go back to the basics right now, because it's becoming crazy in Nigeria. Somebody said that they have turned our country into a circus, and I agree. You know, when you see people coming out, every Tom, Dick and Harry, we know where they keep these INEC papers. We know where these things are printed. Then we have the two people representing these two offices coming out also to say, me too. Like, what's going on here? So I think this is a very good topic today. We need to look at the process, you know, by which we as a nation, Nigeria, you know, look at governance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me bring in Kunle Lawal. Kunle Lawal is an entrepreneur, an idea generator, TEDx speaker, and patriot. He has a keen eye for opportunities based on his experience in politics, working with non-governmental organizations and the federal government. He is passionate about Nigeria and is what could be termed as a detribalized Nigerian. He considers his boundaries to be limitless and is really focused on changing the Nigerian narrative in political participation. He currently serves as the Executive Director of the Electoral College, Nigeria, and is also the country lead for War Chat NG. Kunle Lawal was once acting National Publicity Secretary of COA Party, Alliance for New Nigeria senatorial candidate in 2019, and has since transitioned to a non-partisan influential player in politics and electoral matters in Nigeria. And he's joined us via Zoom from Abuja. Thank you so much, Kunle Lawal, for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Noah. It's a pleasure to be here as usual.
Thank you. Kunle, so this conversation is quite interesting because we're talking the politics of money and its impact on good governance. That's the topic for today. You know, when I saw that video with Senator Adeleke, it was the boldness for me, right? Because the truth is, he's one person I actually do respect his sincerity. No, because this is what every politician does in Nigeria, but they will not have the boldness to come out and do it in front of the people.
They shouldn't have the boldness to do
But wait, but he has some level of sincerity in saying it as it is, because we all know that politics is about money in this country, right? You know, so where do we even start from, you know, when we talk about the politics of money and, you know, how is it impacting? Because right now, if we say the highest bidder gets the seat, what then happens when he has gotten that seat? What happens to the governance part of that politics?
You see, first, you cannot challenge a nation to understand something it hasn't understood. So I'll first start with separating politics and governance. So of course we have politics, which is the vehicle to elected office. And then we have governance, which is deliverance of executing, of course, objectives of the office of the elected. They're two separate things. Now, most Nigerians cannot separate politics from governance. Most politicians cannot separate politics from governance, which is the reason why we have party flags behind elected officers in seat of office. You're sworn to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is what guarantees your office, and not your political party. The political party is just a vehicle. So I know why I started with this, because I wanted to create a background. Now, it's easy to blame the politicians on videos and say, okay, they're giving money or whatever. But I would ask the question, the electorate demands nothing else but money. If you sit down today as a candidate, and I've seen this happen, or an aspirant, and you're trying to say, okay, I'm running for a legislative seat. Here are the bills I wish to present or put forward. People don't want to hear that. Or you say, I'm ready to amend this, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to do that. And this is tested. Trust me, I've been part of that process. So I understand that this is not. So our politics is, the poverty of ideology is so high in our politics that it's only negotiating parameter is currency. And this is because we have nothing. Now, if you take an average sample of, and this is not about whether people are grassroots or not. The truth is Nigerians behave the same, whether grassroots, middle class, or elite. 95% of them do not understand, have not read the Constitution, do not understand jurisdictions of offices they are voting for. I can tell you that you have aspirants that do not even know what they're talking about. So you look at a legislative poster now, which you're beginning to see around, and all they're talking about is to provide schools, will provide health. A legislator, no, you can't do that. You only have a legislative parameter to provide bills that would help support health, will help support education, or help support other things. So because the people don't even understand what exactly politics is, and most of the time they want to say the laws don't favor this. That's not true. Now, if you go through the electoral laws, there's a limit on offices running. There's a campaign limit, a funds campaign limit for people running for offices. So if you're running for president, the limit is 1 billion. If you're running for governor, it's 200 million. If you're running for Senate, it's 40 million. If you're running for House of Rep, it's 25 million. If you're running for local government chairman, State House of Assembly, it is 5 million. And if you're running for councillor, it is 2 million. But yet political parties in this country have the audacity to sell expression forms higher than even the campaign limits being put for some particular offices. And the truth is, no constitution is going to stand up and hit you on the head. Most of the time, people that have not read the Nigerian constitution sit down and tell you how bad it is. But the actual truth is that if you do not understand the constitution as a people, you cannot engage the system and produce better governance. So the truth is that we're just a how do I put it? We're a buffet of corruption because we are prepared by the fruits we don't understand, basically, in government. So you have this clash and this misunderstanding between most parameters and how money affects. Everybody always says they don't want money politics, but I'll ask you a question. The moment you tell your friends that you're running for office, you're the one buying drinks on the table. You're the one paying for lunch. You're the one helping their children go to school. The average people you know, the people you don't know, everybody requests, we're supporting you. I'd like to borrow a small adage from part of my life, 2019 preceding election night. And I paid for a particular community, which I'll mention. I paid for children who were, of course, gifted in that school to go to one of Abuja's prime schools. And, we had put in quite some money. And maybe I'll say I was politically naive, but I paid for 3 years instead of paying for just 1 year so that I'm still giving them money down. But I paid for 3 years. And the night before that election, you have people asking me, I know you've helped our children, but so person running for office has brought you some amount. Please, can you bring an amount close to so that we'll look at you because you've done something for our kids? And that's how much it is in Nigeria. And the funny thing is, like I said, the middle class thinks it's out of it, but the middle class is even just as guilty. Who carries the money? You don't see the elite going to the grassroots. The middle class is the conduit for carrying money for politics across board. And most people were talking about forms and the number of people. And for me, the office of the president will always be sacred and always be respected. The issue is the quality of people that now choose to aspire, or the number of people that choose to aspire. There's totally no rhetoric or no baseline foundation for you to run for a particular office in Nigeria. Just have money. But we created it. I think that's what's necessary.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
If we created it,
I like the way he said a buffet of corruption.
If we created it, I'm wondering where will it stop? Because what is scary for me right now is not even so much of, probably what has happened in the past, because I have seen the worst that could happen in the past. It is what the future would look like if we continue on this trajectory, right? So when you talked about the elite, how did you put it, or middle class? Did you mention middle class, people like us that were supposed to be, that were supposed to be enlightened and all of that? I am wondering, we are not part of those people that would ask for money. The biggest problem that we have right now in Nigeria is that ignorance, that gap, that where a lot of people do not even understand, how this is impacting. Somebody was asking me something, that would somebody sell their vote for 1,000 naira? I said to the person, I said, at this rate in Nigeria, even for 200 naira,
200 naira, they would do that.
Because again, the killing that happened in Lekki just further buttressed how impactful 100 naira is. And these politicians always continue, even when you have good intentions, right? When you have good intentions as a politician, they get to that point where they also become frustrated and they say, what, if it's money they want, just give them the money. After 4 years, they won't see me again. I'll go and do what it is I need to do. So we have gotten to that point where, and that is what is scary for me. It doesn't, I have seen the worst that can happen in the past. I'm saying that where we are going, this is really deep, because it just means that it's going to get bad. If we continue at this trajectory, there's no end in sight to how vicious it will become with the money game in playing this politics in Nigeria. It's only going to get worse. So where do we even come out? How do we start to come out of this mess that we have gotten ourselves into?
Okay, first, before I go into the solutions, I'll first like to reiterate something. So a lot of people like to say the middle class won't ask for money, but the middle class does, and I'll give you an example. The moment, like now, let me even use a basic example of what's happening. So now, Waze has invited me to a show. I'm speaking here freely. The moment I declare I'm running for office, and this is not to Waze directly, I'm just using an example because I don't want to call another show. So the moment I've declared I'm running for office, Waze will charge me. Now this is not to Waze. I need to repeat this. Waze will charge me 1 million naira to be on the show. It happens with blogs. Blogs likes to carry stuff. And the moment you declare you're running for office, it costs so amount. Everything is a price difference at this thing. Middle class for me is the direct recipient of corruption in Nigeria, and that's the honest truth. We choose not to accept it. Yes, they do not accept 1,000 for a vote, but preceding that vote occurring, middle class is at every step making politics as expensive as it is in Nigeria. Now let's look at solutions, and I think this is where, first, I think the problem we refuse to accept is no matter how educated we are, I've stated 95% of Nigeria's entire population is politically illiterate. It's bad to the fact we do not understand local government, which is why we have less than an 8% of voting population participation in local government elections. Our political illiteracy goes as much as not knowing what the flags behind the president represent. I remember there was an ongoing argument one time when the flag was noticed, which represents the armed forces. And people were saying it's a Cuban flag, or I don't know, they came up with so many things. Anyway, let's go back to the point. So political illiteracy is a very, very big thing. The second thing that I think we have a massive problem with is that we're not part of the actual election process. So the entire Nigeria allows, so I'll give you the average party for a presidential primaries right now will have about 7,000 or 8,000 delegates. We're not part of the party. We're not concerned with the system. We don't join political parties. Now, not everybody is supposed to, but a reasonable number. We're 200 million. A reasonable number of us to be part of this. And if we are part of political parties, we now will be able to change the narrative which we have in Nigeria. I don't believe, and this is not to say, I don't believe we have an election in Nigeria. What we actually have is a selection. And here's why. So 7,000 people choose who the rest of 200 million of us are going to be, 120 million of us are going to be voting for or not voting for. And these delegates, we refuse to be part of it. So you hear some people saying, okay, let me use present time an example. People say, oh, I want Peter Obi to emerge from the PDP. Guy, it's not going to emerge. Or girl, it's not going to emerge. You want to know why? You're not a delegate. You are not going to be able to allow him ascend and become a candidate of a political party. Because all you're in love with, or you understand, is you're not part of the process. So till they bring out whoever, Mr. A and Mr. B, and say these are your candidates, then you can vote. That's the only time Nigerians have a decision to make. But those decisions are predetermined by delegates. So as long as we do not participate fully in political parties, we're going to continue to have this quagmire going up and down. A lot of us need to go into political parties, become part of the system, work within the system, understand how it works, and then try to move forward.
Okay.
Another solution I think I'll be looking at clearly is that we need to stop thinking that America, France, Ghana, Rwanda is Nigeria. We're complex with our own complex problems, so our own solutions must be internal. Now, I think one of the key solutions is even understanding the Constitution. Now, there's this thought process that in Nigeria, the Constitution belongs to lawyers. And lawyers help sell that because lawyers too believe that the Constitution is their birthright. Meanwhile, the average lawyer will let me not go into that. But the truth is that the Constitution is actually the holy book of being a citizen. If you do not read it and you're not concerned about it, then you can't call yourself Nigerian. It's that bad. It's more important than having a passport to Dakar, because the passport only has to do with external stuff, and you need to understand the way the Constitution works so that you can begin to have serious engagement. I always ring this a lot. You cannot engage the system you do not understand. So most of the time, we find ourselves discussing business, discussing politics, discussing what is going to happen from a totally blind sight. I'll tell you the average thing. Most people say, local government chairman, I have access to the chairman, but it seems that the federal is not giving money. The federal gives money, check. The federal gives money always. You don't know. And somewhere along the line, they'll say, state governors are collecting. If state governors are collecting, then sue the local government chairman. He has no immunity, or you don't know that. When you sue him and he goes to jail, next time you give him, or next time another one is giving money, you won't give it out. So you need to understand the Constitution and how it works. And everybody just wants to say, Lord Dugard. I always laugh when I hear Lord Dugard talk from Nigerians. Well, when you were having parties with First Start in 1977 when the oil boom was great, and we're paying people 3 times their salary, Lord Dugard was not the problem. Then now Lord Dugard is your problem. You can't selectively choose what is the problem or not. And I think another system is we need to understand that we are Nigerian first before anything else. So most people are drunk in thinking they're from one tribe or they're this or they're that, and that's affected our decision making. Oh, I want my brother there. Okay, when your brother was there, what development was brought to your constituency? Nothing. You're just high on, and this is drug high, if I'm allowed to say that. This is drug high on the fact that someone from my local government or from my clan or community or ward is in power.
Okay, Kule, we need to just take a very quick break, right? When we come back from the break, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, dem go beat you. Na 2,500 they pay.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Thanks for staying with us now. If you just tuned in, we are discussing the politics of money and its impact on good governance with Kunle Lawal. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at Wayshow Africa1 with the hashtag Wayshow. All right, so Mani, you had a question for Kunle.
Yes, I do. So, Kunle, we're talking about the politics of money. So right now what we see is that the politics of money is the politics of exclusion. So how would an individual who, you know, really wants to serve, how would he play in this game without money?
Well, maybe I found myself caught within those lines, so I'll attempt to answer from how maybe I approached it. So you already have, there's always opportunity in chaos. So everybody throws money and nothing else. So in my time while running in 2019, I was able to propose 49 bills during the campaign year, which is higher than, of course, any legislator in Nigeria. I adapted, of course, systems to break, a lot of TV interviews that, of course, didn't cost the campaign, but helped me decipher what, since I was running the FCT, what the FCT could be at Abuja, what Abuja could be as a place, and just pick up everything that everybody else is not doing. That's the only way to work, and then you maybe hope for the best. So, of course, obviously, I'm not a senator, but I had a race that's enviable by a lot of aspirants and candidates still today. And that was how I was able to walk through it without having the kind of funds that are ill-gotten or as the game goes.
So, Kunle, I was going to ask you, what would be a legal approach to eradicating money from politics, right? Because I know that, there's supposed to be certain kinds of amount of money that should not be exceeded, even when you're running for your campaigns and all those things put together. There's a standard that, there's a benchmark that INEC has given that should not be exceeded. But we see that most of these political parties, they over exceed self, you know, by hundreds and thousands of percentage, right? So what would be a legal approach if we want to take out money from the political game in Nigeria and just focus on the politics itself and find a way, you know, because I believe that if money is excluded from this transaction, then we might have some ray of hope for good governance, because it means that it's no longer about money, it's about people that are ready to work. That's when you now start seeing the right people coming into the game to really play the game, because they understand that I am here to do the work and not because my money brought me here. So how do we legally approach this?
Well, there always will be money in politics. Let's not lie about it. Let's not, you know, let's just be honest. There always be money in politics. It's the way politics is built. Now, is it supposed to dictate the way politics runs? No. Earlier, I told you the limits by INEC. So, has anybody tried to test the law? Has anybody tried to sue a particular person? Okay, somebody gives 100 cars. Those 100 cars cost so. I'm suing this aspirant based on the fact he has infringed on the financial limits placed by INEC. Nobody does that. And then you're wondering how you're going to eradicate it. So sometimes, you know, when the NBA says an NGO and it's doing stuff, I wonder what the NBA is doing. Anyway, no offense, but that's what I think. And nobody has tried to, you know, push the laws. Okay, you can wait and say, okay, you know what? The other candidate, I was second, but the other candidate, he gave out some amount of money infringing on this particular part of the Electoral Act, which states that the money, the limit for our spending while running for office is this. And nobody has tested it, but yet you won't stop money in politics. How does that work? I think we really love money in politics, that's the truth. I think we're also enticed by it.
Funny, you have a comment. This matter is serious, you.
Okay, your guest has said it all. Poverty of ideology, that's the bend. My heart bleeds when I see people who are expected to know better, guilty, not asking questions on pedigree of aspirants. Yes, his manifesto. Remember the mindset issue you treated some time ago? Do you mean there are no poor people in the US, yet we celebrate mediocrity? It's an infant flouting money on the Nigerian electorate.
It's an insult.
It's an insult, sorry. It's an insult, flouting money on the Nigerian electorate, and which I really agree with him. It shouldn't be about money. We're talking about service here. But right now...
Let me state something.
Okay.
In Nigeria, is flouting money a problem?
It's not.
It has never been a problem.
Okay, so you remove the culture of flouting money from people. Flouting money in politics, really. We need to understand that these things are related. So flouting money is in our culture. To run for governor in the US, the form for Texas is $5,000. That's about, it's not much. But you even have an option to pay or not. If you say my income does not mean I can pay for a form, it means you cannot be denied, because they understand your right as an individual to run for office. Nigeria is not yet there. I don't like comparing most of the time, but we're not yet there. We have a culture that is embedded on corruption. It is our lifestyle. So what do you think? Politics will exclude itself, and then our culture of throwing money at weddings and throwing money at anything we feel like throwing money. When last did anybody recognize someone that was doing something for who he was and the person didn't have touch? I think that's what we need to ask ourselves.
So I want to take you, Kunle, to the quote that we quoted for today by Richard Salzman. It says the only way to get money out of politics is to get politics out of money making, right? Do you agree with that? And if you do, can we make politics less lucrative for people? Is it possible?
Let me explain. Money in politics thrives because the people are placed in a position where they will need money. So they guarantee that this circle of politics continues as is, which is from that cooked state. Now, if you want politics and money out of politics, the simplest way to do it is to create an economy that thrives and works for all, demands good governance, raises the bar, builds a culture that we are able to see beyond the money. And then at that point, we can now take money out of politics. But if Nigeria remains as is, with all the Dorime actions happening in Lagos, no, money is going to remain.
Nari Dorime. Good evening, my beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying? #ways. The politics of money and its impact on good governance. This is an important topic. You cannot remove politics from money and vice versa. To me, if money is removed in politics, there will definitely be good governance. But in Nigeria, it is not the case because people love it like that. Sister, I can feel your pain. You are healed in Jesus' name. Amen. My dear beautiful sister Money, you are looking lovely and beautiful today. Thank you, Daniel Elo, We's regular fan.
Thank you, Daniel.
So Kunle, as we try to wrap this conversation, because it's something that, you know, can we, okay, so for instance, let's take the reason we even started to discuss this topic in the first place, Senator Adeleke, and his boldness to come out at a campaign rally to say, because I asked you about the legal approach, you know, you talked about, have we called up, questioned anybody, have we written, like saying we're suing someone and all of that, but he has come out now to say that he did not only bring, now it's even interesting because even the electorate, they understand that our naira is not valuable anymore. So he has told you that I did not come only with naira, I came with dollars, I came with pounds, and I came with euros, right? So there is money. And he says this boldly at a campaign rally, right? So are you trying to tell me, Kunle, that this cannot be used as something to what's it called? Probably stop his political fight for the governorship of that state? It's not possible to use that?
Well, it is possible, but remember the Oliver Twists in the judiciary who are going to toss that case from a lower court and take it up to the Supreme Court. Now, no offense, but we know how it's going to go. It's going to be bought out. So there are lots of things. We, the people, have to really stand up and make a statement of these things. If somebody flouts that money, I'd like to see a local government say, we're not voting for this party in this local government in the next election because of that deed being done. But that sounds very good to the ears. But I know something about Nigerians. We're kind of, we're kind of gluttony. It's like, how can there be politics without money in Nigeria? It's like going to a party without small chops. That's what we think.
Is it even without small chops, without that gun spraying of money and all of that? I mean, when you said that, it really hit home because there's technically nothing you do right now in Nigeria that if money is not involved, you're not important. They don't even take you seriously. So it's a culture that has eaten. So it's a culture of money that we have, right? So can we approach this, you know, maybe from the cashless? I don't know how to explain. Like for instance, abroad, I mean, the first time I spent £50 in a store, they called everybody to be sure that money is not fake because they are not used to. They are not in a society where they are used to seeing a lot of money, right? Can we, if we approach it from that standpoint, is there any hope that we would actually start to shift the minds around this, you know, money culture that we have? Is it possible?
There's something about society. There's culture, meaning it's a way of life. So throwing money is a way of life in Nigeria. You can't rob the people of their culture. What you can do is alter the culture, or maybe teach the next ones not to think of that. But as long as there are Owambes, as long as people dance in the club and are being sprayed, as long as our tradition is throwing money in the air, it is always going to occur. We have built our entire thought process around it, and nothing is going to change it. So even if we reduce the amount of cash in the economy, people will bring in more cash. Dollars are not reducing the amount of cash. You didn't hear it brought down here. So We only have control over the naira. So that's not going to change anything. So it's a cultural mindset. And like I'll always say, Nigeria will continue to remain 774 countries in one national boundary till we wake up and fix our politics.
No, but in 2021 August, the CBN put out an article saying that they were working with the EFCC and the police to arrest the people who spray naira notes at parties. You know, so I think so many things are already in place. They just are not being implemented. So it's in Nigeria, we go back to the implementation, and that's what good governance is about. It's about making the right decisions, and then also the process of implementing these decisions or not implementing them. So I think we can round up by saying that we just have bad governance in our country. Because
no, I think I'd like to round up saying this.
Okay.
Nigeria has more laws on corruption than any other country in the world. Nigeria has more of electoral laws than anywhere else.
Okay.
I don't need to explain. The problem has never been implementation. Laws don't stand up and wake up and keep people. The problem has always been that the Nigerian always finds a way to break performing straight or break the line. So we never run a race straight, and that has always been our problem, and it has affected everything.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think laws will always be broken, or they will be broken. But what's the position of the government agencies that are supposed to implement the punishments
for those
yes,
broken
so
laws?
it's not even about the breaking of the law.
Let me butt in here. How many people actually went to driving school, got a driving license? How many people got an international passport legally without paying extra money? You want that same set of society to produce a leader that said you're joking.
I got my passport legally, Kunle Lawal.
I said issue of how many.
Yeah, that's the problem. But thank you so much. We ran out of time, but we're going to keep this conversation. Hopefully when you're back in Lagos, we'll have maybe another part of this conversation, because I feel like, you know, there's a lot going on right now. And, you know, the good thing for social media is helping. People can see for themselves.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be able to keep and keep talking about this, so that people their minds are awakened to this reality that this will never lead us anywhere good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kunle Lawal. Thank you, Manny. All right, so before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagrams at Wayshow Africa. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Now, if you missed today's quote, here it is again. The only way to get money out of politics is to get politics out of money making. It's a very, very strong quote. We'll see you guys live at 8 p.m. tomorrow as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Hi, this is TW Conversations, and it's happening in the lounge. Last week, we started a conversation that was heated, we didn't finish, Anne allowed us to continue this week. So I'm still in the house with Anne, I'm in the house with Chisom, I'm in the house with Ebonlua, our co-host, but our two guests are hot. I have Chisom, no, Chisom is not my guest. It's Favor, and Ihoma. So we'll take a break, and then this time the conversation is going to be looking at the area of intimacy. Ihoma had told us that some of us have raised our children wrong, right? We'll find out when we come back from the break.
So before we ended the last episode, we were talking about intimacy. And I said, as much as it's nice and flowery and interesting to hear that somebody ended up as a virgin and got married as a virgin, there are also downsides to it. There are sides that people really don't address. So that's why I call it downsides. I've come to realize that a lot of people, so as much as they say women are randy, all the men, because I hear guys, young boys now, like, oh, the girls, they're sleeping with everybody. There's still quite a large number of women that haven't. Yeah. And it's the reality. I've sat in a room where a lot of women, and then people make it seem like if you say you're a virgin, then there's something wrong with you. But there are lots of women that would never, ever admit it in public that they are what they really are. And then a woman recently...
That's sad, though.
A friend of mine recently had a conversation with me that scarred me. Scarred me in the sense that I looked at her. When you look at her, oh my gosh, she's funky. She always has like bomb shots and everything. You would see her and assume that, oh my gosh, she's probably one person that's been around the world and back. Then she got married and she has 2 kids now. And then she's just talking to me about how the disvirgining process, that it took her husband almost 2 months to get her to have sex with him. At some point, they had to go to a hospital because they're like, okay, this has passed, be careful. The man is like, every time he wants to touch her, it's almost like she goes tight.
So which is the reason why we're talking about this, right? This is why Ihoma is here.
Yes.
That the fact that we've already covered the basis. If you're having a relationship and someday it's going to end up in sex, but it may not, but if it does, what happens? Whether you're a virgin or you're not, if you keep yourself and you become a virgin and you marry, you're going to have issues. And that's where intimacy comes in.
I see a lot of those issues because there's a lot of emphasis on the girls saving themselves for whichever man they're going to get married to. Whether we like it or not is our reality. But there's not a lot of education going into the men. Should you end up with a virgin, what should you be looking to do? So I see a lot of young women who, the men don't know how to lubricate that particular bit of the body. They don't know, they don't have patience. They're not prepared to use their fingers or their tongues. They just want to enter and ram like they're on holiday. And the unfortunate thing is that if they get it wrong, because this is the first time their wife is making love in this particular way, it scars the relationship because she's not sure what to expect the next time he says...
So what we're saying here is that sex can be great.
Yes.
But because we have this blockage, right, but there's process to it.
There's a process to it, and I think...
men are not patient enough.
It's not about patience, it's about education. It's not about patience. This is not about patience. It's about being educated, being willing to understand, okay, I can't make assumptions about what my wife has been doing. She says she's a virgin, fine. Let me educate myself on what I need to do. And so you find, I mean, we get a lot of phone calls, a lot of men, oh, I got married on Saturday. They're probably ringing you on Monday. I tried at the whole year. Nothing. Oh, I tried to enter. It was tight. She was freaking out. And you're like... you know, for 1 or 2, we've had to get them, what are they called? You know, these things that help the vagina open.
Or something.
Yes. I mean, there is a problem. We have a problem. And then, unfortunately, for the younger girls, 20, 21, 22, 23, who get married to men years older than themselves, the older men are even more impatient because they just don't understand what they're supposed to be doing.
Becoming something like rape.
Yes, and then there's also an issue of communication. Because we haven't really encouraged our young people, male or female, who are going to become adults, to have clear communication lines about what they like, what they don't like, what it hurts, what they expect in that intimate moment. They don't... You know, so you really meet men who genuinely don't know how to pleasure their wives, and they've been married 10 years.
This is beyond whether you're a virgin or you're not a virgin. Intimacy is about getting close to somebody.
Yes.
So my question is intimacy, is it only about sleeping together?
No. It's about... She said something earlier. She said, going to the movies. Yes, she said something. Going to the movies, holding hands, just having a lazy afternoon and watching... But it is.
I was in a relationship for about 2 years, and we were both celibate, and I would say that was like maybe one of the most intimate relationships that I had ever, because we were able to connect on a deeper level. Like, it was like every other time that sex would come to play, like, it was not about sex. Like, it kind of like substituted for other like deeper, like more meaningful, like we had meaningful conversations. We spent exactly. So those times, like, instead of like, you know, the regular people would be having sex, we were getting to know each other. We were talking about life issues, and I would say it was that was intimacy, right?
No, but I think Ebu has something different.
No,
Intimacy is more connection.
I mean, yeah, it's the clincher for me is when I have a mental connection. Like if we can connect mentally.
What does that mean?
You know, like we
like
get...
Like kind of book?
No, maybe not that. Just, you know, maybe philosophy. You understand? Like what life is about deeply. And we can connect on that level, and we can talk, you know, for hours on end on the things that really matter to us on a fundamental level. I think that's, for me, is the greatest
That's why people like
level.
you, it'll be strange for you. You can't understand the concept of one night stand.
Oh my God.
So, because like, you just see somebody and then you guys hugged and had a good conversation and you had sex. It's almost like, at what point did you discuss? At what point did we know each other enough?
It's purely sexual. It's like, it's the instinct.
Like, but you know, the funny thing is, it's so common nowadays for both men and women for different reasons. For mature single women who are not in relationships, but older and above a certain age, or widowers or widows, and they don't want to be in a relationship, a one-night stand may not be the best way to go, but it solves a particular need, a biological need at a particular time. We may not like it, but that's the reality. For the younger ones at university, it's for a different reason. For the boys, it's hit and wrong. Practicing.
Yeah, I mean...
So what brings me to the question of this practice? No, so for example, if everybody chooses to be celibate, and you ended up pairing up and you want to be otherwise, where is the practice going to come from? Must you have practiced?
So you see, the thing is that when I'll say from two aspects. When you get married as a virgin and you realize that, you know, sometimes before you get married, you think you know, you think you're hot, you think you're... And then the reality hits you. Because nobody's really telling you. So I went for marriage counseling. What did they tell me about sex? Nobody's really telling you that, this is what you need to do, how to get, you know, those details. Nobody really tells you that. When the reality hits you, if you're not careful, it would affect your self-confidence.
Yes.
So when it affects your self-confidence, it erodes other areas of your life. So you're trying to have a conversation with me, and I'm thinking, so my husband used to say, you're so self-confident. It's almost like when he's talking, so you're so self-conscious, he can be talking to me, I'm like, oh my God, is my leg uncomfortable? Is my this? Because it's more than the issue that we're talking about. It's internal. So I need to work on myself. You can't be telling me, let's have a discussion. There are many things that we will not connect on because I haven't sorted that out. So people need to understand that. When you now move past that, then you now realize, oh, so we really used to have nice conversations that I never ever noticed.
So that can also be a blockage to the intimacy that is outside of the physical relationship. You know, so what we're saying here is that people have to work at it.
People have to work at it, but the reality is that, are we prepared to work at it? Because with working at it involves some level of education on both sides. And as parents, we have a responsibility to give our children the skills to navigate properly. And the reality is, we're only dealing with our daughters. Our daughters are well-behaved. Our daughters are not going to be running riot, you know, misbehaving. No, our daughters are well-behaved because...
Are you sure?
Are we sure?
Are you sure that's what's happening?
Are you sure? Most 80% of them.
Can we still say 80%?
No, I agree. You know, I agree with you. Listen, I agree with you. But our daughters, in terms of behavior, are not as badly behaved as the way that our boys are. in terms of numbers.
I have a 27-year-old son who says he's afraid of the girls.
Yeah, but...
He's worried that all these girls, in fact, he's not making demands, they're making demands on him.
Yeah, but you see, but she said something earlier, family values. Where are the values of the family? What are the values that you're teaching your daughter?
People don't come. You see, the thing is that a lot of people don't come. A lot of parents never ever confront this thing.
Yes,
you
that's
never
the
have a
problem.
conversation about it.
Yeah,
so,
that's
for
the
instance, I tell my mom. My mom tells me on my 25th birthday, she calls me and she's like, "Oh, Anne, I want to pray for you. Do you have a prayer request?" And at that time, I wasn't married. And I'm like, "Oh, mommy, long life, normal question." She's like, "I'm praying for you to find a spouse, And I'm saying, but mommy, you're the person that if I said I had boyfriend, it's almost like, so all of a sudden, where's the man going to come from to marry? We not date first. As in, and that's the thing I see with a lot of people.
But
a lot of
she's
parents
right.
never ever have sex education. They never face it. Nobody tells you about sex.
I'm a parent.
Do you tell your children about sex?
No, I'm a parent of adults. My daughter is 30-something, so I must share my experience. My daughter was 14 when she first told me about boyfriend. I wouldn't lie, my heart skipped a beat because who wants to be confronted with those kind of conversations? But guess what? What I have chosen to do with my children is make them responsible for the... You're laughing. Yes, I told her, boyfriend, my heart skipped a bit, but I didn't let her see. I said, boyfriend, yes, it's a friend that is a boy, isn't it? So yes, so what's special about that? It's a boy that's a friend. So I told her, why should you have only one? Don't you have more than one? And she's like, I said, yeah, they're friends that are boys. So it's special. I said, but you cannot have a special boyfriend at 14. If anything happens to you today, you are going to... The best job you can get is house girl. So why don't you just finish your school set first? Because boys, you'll be worried if he doesn't call you, if he doesn't come. You don't want to put all those worries... Yes, all those worries in your head. Do you get what I mean? But I've raised my daughter to be... And that's why my daughter is 30. She's not married because she knows what she wants. Now the question is, did I teach her right? Maybe I should have allowed her to just be...
I mean, my mom, when I was going to uni, the university, my mom called me to her room and she showed me, I had never seen a condom in my life. Never. My mom showed me. She said, this is a condom. This is a diaphragm. This one goes into the...
She's having this conversation.
Listen, my mom is... She looked me in the eye and I'm like, oh my God.
No, but I'm telling you, even when she was looking her in the eye, I'm sure her eyes were... Her heart was beating.
So my mom...
But she was trying to take... As far as she knew, that's her best way.
Yeah, so she told me, she said, listen, like, if you ask me, I'd say you should remain a virgin. But if, and they look at you with one side eye, if you decide...
It's your business.
Spoke some Igbo. If you
say it in Igbo. Say it in Igbo. Igbo is very deep.
It's very bad. But she goes, if you decide to, go the other way and, this is what this is. Even if the boy is not, but this one you can put it in. I'm going to show you how to... It was the most awkward conversation.
Did you think that was her permission to go and be promiscuous, which is what parents worry about?
No, I didn't think that was it. But I feel like my mom equipped me to be able to make an informed decision. Yes, to be able to say, okay, I want this and I don't want this. And while I was in uni, I probably, I started having sex eventually, but it wasn't anytime soon. I made sure that, okay, I knew, what I wanted.
So,
and this,
why did you go celibate?
Okay, so at the point that
a choice.
At the point that I went celibate, it was a choice, and I was lucky at the time to find somebody who also wanted to do the same.
That's another question. Two of you have to
so we were on the same page, and so dating and being celibate was easy. I wasn't because most times what it is, the girl wants to be celibate, the guy is like, I don't want to be celibate, and then the guys, they'll tell you, oh, my girlfriend is celibate, I'm not sleeping with her, but I'm sleeping with other girls.
Trouble.
Yes, you hear that.
I have friends who have open relationships. I mean, they're married, but then they have sex with other people.
These Americans, though.
No, and they're also Nigerians too. Nigerians do it. So I'm just like, wow,
But it's here in Lagos as well. We have a menage a trois in Lagos.
At this point, you really have to take a break. This conversation doesn't want to end, but we'll be right back. Welcome back. This conversation is getting very intense, as you can see. Very hot.
No, my own ears are popping.
Please, what's that word you were saying before we went on the break?
I said that we have couples in Lagos, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, who engage in a menage a trois.
Okay. Menage a trois.
Which is...
Multiple partners?
Not just multiple partners, but where a couple decides that they're inviting somebody else into the bedroom. So it could be a male or it could be a female. Okay. We also have a large swingers underground community made up of Nigerians.
What swingers?
Both ways, they do.
So people...
No. Swingers are not both.
Swingers have rules. So they are a couple, they've been married for several years, but they then decide that they would like to join a swingers club where they openly engage in intimate relationships with others in that club. And their partner is watching. And their partner could take part.
So my own concern, and pardon me if it's sounding rather, I think sex is spiritual. There's a connection that happens, and if you reduce it to just those exchange of fluids, you know, exchange of fluids, that's what I call it.
I think for me, my biggest concern is someone earlier said something is that we adapt a lot of things from outside. Mm-hmm. So for me, my biggest concern, and because we're a country where not many of us know our status.
Exactly.
HIV, hepatitis A, B, C, gonorrhea, syphilis, herpes.
Wow.
We engage in these lifestyles without knowing the repercussions of these lifestyles on our values, on ourselves as individuals. And sometimes for the women or the men, they agree to a particular behavior to make the other person happy. So they don't really want to do it, but my husband wants me to do it. Yes. I see a lot of those kinds of customers. They don't want to do anal, but I married a guy. I give you a classic example. I had a customer once who got in touch with us. She's crying on the phone. We wondered. She first spoke to my colleague, and then when she wasn't satisfied, she spoke to me. I asked her to come in and see me, so she came to see me at home. What was the problem? She had been dating. She's a virgin. Dating, they both agreed they weren't going to get in sex. Now, what she did not realize was that he actually preferred anal than vaginal. So for him, it was okay that she was a virgin. So when they got married, it became a problem. Why was the problem now?
Because he preferred it the other way.
He preferred it the other way, and she couldn't understand why. Because she got no satisfaction that way.
So how do you counsel
Now,
such
the
people?
problem now, they're both Christian. She didn't want to leave the marriage because something about divorce, no divorce. But she didn't want to engage in anal either.
Wow.
And so, you see, with counseling, you do not tell them what to do. They have to work through the steps and get to the conclusion to decide what is best for themselves. And at the time, she stopped coming at one point because she felt I was not telling her what to do. And I was telling her, that's the Nigerian way of counseling. I don't tell. We have to work through the steps. What would you like to see happen? Because whatever you do, if you decide you want to continue, these are the anal lubes. These are the things you need to be aware of if you do. You know, it's not just to do it. You need to make sure that you're safe with it and it doesn't have long-term repercussions on that part of the body.
But can I just say something here? The question is, however it is, the young person has options. So what I would expect people to do is seek the options and make the decision, like you said. If you want to stay in a marriage like that, you must do what he wants. So make it easy for you to do.
Annulling the marriage?
Is
that a ground for annulling the marriage?
What I always say when it comes to marriages, right? I don't believe in divorce. But however, the only two people that understand if they are married or not is the husband and wife. So nobody is going to tell me and divorce, not even a paper. If I feel that, and the truth is, if you have been untruthful to each other, then it's ground for you to walk away. Then there was no marriage in the first place. Marriage is a consent amongst two people with God as a witness. So God, we don't see him now. Can you ask God, okay, come on, then God, you can't. But the two know. So before them, they will go and tell God and say, well, this man...
That's deceit. I mean, if you got married, you should...
It's deceit. It's a lie.
I was really shocked when she came and she broke down. She was crying. I was just looking at her. The whole thing was just surreal. I never, and I feel...
Well, you're not shocked anymore with some of that.
Yeah, some of the stuff. I'm just nowadays...
For me, like, as a Christian, based on everything I know, like, for me, the only grounds for divorce is, infidelity. So I feel like if I was in the position, of the other girl, if I decide to stay in the marriage, I'll do what...
But it's infidelity.
It is, because
infidelity is not only going sleeping, adultery. Infidelity is telling a lie, not holding to your promise. That's what infidelity is.
But you see, for me, the concern also was, he wasn't being safe. And he gave her the impression that he was engaging in that behavior outside of the marriage as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so you couldn't really tell whether he was going to bring in... And remember, that part of the body has a high incidence of getting infection.
Yes.
So you're not even sure
why
what he's going to bring back into the house. And I think that's the problem we face, that we see intimacy as just sex. Almost like you can outsource it, when it's more complex.
Yeah.
It involves mental stimulation. It involves emotions. I mean, for many married women, when your husband annoys you, you know you can't really shag him that night.
Yeah, no shag.
Do you understand? It's just like, dude, just respect yourself. Sit in your corner and be doing your business.
I think we should talk about enhancers.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are married now, and there are many companies that have become popular that are helping the ministry of a lot of women.
No, even if you don't call it, we know that it
calling
exists.
the
My
names,
worry, the question is, there's help out there regardless of what it is.
Whatever the situation is.
But I worry, though, that's why I would like to ask you this question. There's some that are so popular. People ingest things.
Yes.
Aphrodisiacs are good. They ingest things because they want to improve their ability.
I think you can make some of these aphrodisiacs yourself. Some of them involve honey, coconut, nutmeg.
Free of charge.
Yeah,
Come on,
tiger nuts and coconuts are natural aphrodisiacs that you can mix with milk and honey.
Guys, can I also tell you something that our coconut parfaits, we've never said this publicly, but honestly, our coconut parfaits are, I mean, the reaction we get from people are, oh my goodness, oh, yeah. They're very soothing and they're very much aphrodisiac.
Okay, I'm not offering you two.
Just because I just want to, have a good time with the, not for anything else.
Enhancers exist, but please educate us on what we should look out for and not do.
Yeah, enhancers exist, but I'm also very worried about how we use them. I'm asthmatic, and I'm very careful what I ingest because I like to be able to breathe by myself. And I always tell people, you need to know what exactly you're drinking, swallowing, so that you know how to save yourself. Bearing in mind, we don't have 999 or 911.
We have in Lagos.
In Lagos, and even in Lekki traffic, they stop you, you won't go far. So
we need to get everyone's thoughts now. We need to wrap up. Time is almost up again. So.
Okay, but it's been interesting.
Sorry, I was going to say one thing before I go. There's a lady, a friend of mine said, so she went to visit somebody to buy something else. And then the person said to her, oh, have you used XYZ product? And she was like, she didn't want to seem naive. So she was like, not really. In Lagos, do you know the women outside that your husband are meeting and taking all this type of things? So you need to,
up your game.
Exactly. So she now called the company, and then one of the bottles that they gave her was a syrup, and it was like maybe 70-something K.
No, that's what she's
saying.
saying.
So she bought it, and she said it worked. That her husband was shouting, Jesus is Lord.
Who sent you?
So she said to herself that at that point she was actually scared because it just dawned on her that the possibility of this man seeing this thing outside has upped by how much?
No, well, I understand what she's saying, but I think you've already addressed that issue. These things work. Wow. You can produce it yourself. It's needed in a relationship, a committed relationship, because regardless of anything, I don't imagine anybody hopping around. Those are my final words. In a committed relationship, it's important that your intimacy goes all the way.
Yes, it is.
So there's no point closing your ears to the fact that, I am Christian or I'm Muslim or whatever. You must ensure that you have a good relationship and you can find help and do it. As for you people, I wish you luck.
I would say to young people again that intimacy goes beyond sex, that you can actually achieve intimacy without sex. If you're having sex and then, together, they're force, rather. But if you're not, it doesn't mean you cannot achieve intimacy, so yeah.
Effective communication.
Absolutely, we forgot
makes intimacy the best. And if you are in a relationship, marriage or otherwise, and you can't communicate effectively, then there's a problem.
Yeah, for me, I get turned on, by the mind first. And that is the clincher for me. But I also want to add, these other products are really interesting. And before I can get into them, we have to actually do an expose on them. Get some pharmacists and pharmacologists to break them down in the lounge and find out how safe they really are. Because so many people are consuming them. I would like to, but not before that.
75,000 naira for a bottle.
Yeah.
Baby. My baby.
When it's time, I'm looking forward to it. But then, for now, I just want to remain friends and date in the real sense of dating, knowing people, being intimate for the right reasons.
Are you just telling us the right words?
No, I'm actually serious, you know.
And mommy of two.
Well, I'd say that intimacy is achievable no matter where you started. It's something that can be worked on. Expressing yourself, like you said, is totally key because a lot of women have found it difficult to tell their spouses what their preferences
For fear
are.
of being seen as a
Exactly.
whole,
So,
for want of a better word.
please, whatever way, just know that there's hope. It can get better, it will get better. Just work at it and express yourself. Be determined to say what's on your mind, and what you like is very important too. Thank you very much for coming to watch us today. Thank you, and please, the conversation doesn't end here. Our handles are scrolling on the screen. Please continue the conversation and catch you some other time. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, come on.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back at the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
On Plus TV News now, suspects plead not guilty as police arraign 2 over Deborah's death. Somalia elects Hassan Sheikh Mohammed as new president. Swedish government takes formal decision to apply for NATO membership. Good evening, I'm Loretta Chiogo. This is News Now and thanks for joining us. The police have arraigned 2 suspects, Bilyaminu Aliyu and Aminu Ukunchi, before a chief magistrate court in Sokoto State over the killing of a student, Deborah Samuel. Deborah was accused of engaging in blasphemy, and for this, her colleagues stoned and flogged her to death, after which they set her on fire. The First Information report, prosecuting police officer Kali Musa told the court that the suspects were accused of participating in the disturbance act that led to the death of Deborah on May 12, and that an investigation was in progress. The suspects alongside the victim were students of Shehu Shagari College of Education in Sokoto. The governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, has relaxed the curfew imposed as a result of the violent protests that trailed the arrest of suspects linked to the murder of Deborah Samuel. Governor Tambuwal relaxed the curfew after receiving briefing from security agencies in the state. The revised curfew will now be from dusk to dawn in Sokoto Township. This is with a view to affording people the window to pursue their legitimate businesses and means of livelihood. The Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has said that it will petition international organizations to call the government to order and to be more serious in dealing with religious violence in Nigeria. The president of CAN, Samson Ayokunle, while reacting to the killing of Deborah Samuel, said that the government has not been proactive, has not taken decisive action on cases of religious violence, and the entire world needs to hear. Ayokunle said that since this was the first time the kind of happening in Ayokunle said that since that was the first time such was happening, there was a need to appeal to the international communities and organizations to help Nigeria and Nigerian Christians. Meanwhile, speaking on our political program, Plus Politics, Reverend Joseph Hayab said that The country cannot afford as a nation to be tossed to and fro by different religious beliefs, as they must always go by what is written in the country's constitution, one of which is that no man is permitted to take the life of another, come what may.
Whole lot of argument without clarity, because when you listen to others, they will say there's nowhere in the Quran that says you should kill. But when you listen to others, they will say, no, there's a justification for you to kill, but you are not going to kill, you are going to allow a particular authority to kill. So because of this divided idea, what I believe is that Nigeria is a secular state, and Nigeria must be ruled by the Constitution of Nigeria. There's no place in the Constitution of Nigeria that empowers another person to kill another person. In 2000, why did Christians in northern Nigeria, and specifically in Kaduna, reject Sharia? This is one of the reasons. Because we know that there are excesses about faith, and we just wanted to be sure we are protected. Even with those arguments, where are we now? We've still lost a lot of people. So many of our children, so many of our husbands, so many of our wives have been killed under accusation that they blaspheme the prophet or they desecrated the Quran. What we are simply saying is that if we begin to look at blasphemy and desecration, then this country will never know peace. Because you started by talking about the president's speech. Have you really listened to what the president said? The president said, and I quote, that even Jesus Christ is a prophet. For me, a Christian, calling Jesus Christ a prophet is blasphemy because it's ignorant. Jesus is not a prophet to me as a Christian. So, but you see, we tolerate this thing. We understand this thing. We don't care about who said it. But the moment it comes to the other angle, then our children are being killed, our families are under attack. I think we really need to sit and talk about what makes us Nigeria. Are we Nigerians by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, or we are Nigerians by the dictate of a particular religion or a particular section? Unless we honestly discuss this, we'll continue to have this challenge over and over, because it is our daughter today we are crying. Tomorrow it may be another person's daughter from another part of Nigeria, and the cry will go that way, and this will continue.
A civil rights advocacy group, Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, HURIWA, has tasked the Department of State Services to arrest the Chief Imam of Bayero University in Kano, Sheikh Abubakar Jibril, for allegedly inciting Muslims against the Bishop of Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Matthew Hassan Kuka. HURIWA said in a statement that Jibril was captured in a viral video allegedly telling his many Muslim followers to get the home address of Kuka and possibly attack the bishop. The group also accused Jibril of sponsoring the attack on Kuka's parishes through insightful comments on the social media. And still talking about insecurity, until Leah Sharibu is freed from the captivity of terrorists, the call for her release will be heightened. These were words at the launch of a book in her honor as a heroine of the Christian faith, put together by cleric Pastor Rafiu Kuteyi. The report.
Arriving for the event, though a cheery one, but the crux here is very unpalatable. It is a book launch in honor of 19-year-old Leah Sharibu, who has been in Boko Haram's captivity since she was 15. 4 years on, the narration hasn't changed.
Very little has been said about her since she's been in captivity. There have been rumors, something said, but do we know if it's true? We can just say that there are rumors even up till now. There's no verified information on her welfare and well-being, on what exactly is happening to her up till date.
The 218-page book with 7 chapters emphasizes Leah's resoluteness in the face of captivity, a move celebrated more in the Christendom.
Despite the pains of remaining in captivity, Leah still trusts God. Unlike many of us, the author observed that this young girl would not consider her life more important than her faith. She treasured her faith more than her own life and brought to bear the famous Queen Esther quote of, "If I perish, the Nigerian government, while counting on the support of other non-state actors, need to intensify its efforts to secure the release of Leah, and in good time too." The author asserts that although the plight of Leah remains the primary focus of this book, the heart of the author, and I think, and I'm sure the heart of everybody in this hall, also go out to every other victim of the heinous crime of kidnapping and terrorism across Nigeria and the world at large.
February 19, 2018, in Dapchi, Yobe State, a dark night where daredevils kidnapped 110 secondary school girls, including Leah, from their hostel. Other girls have long been released, but one.
There is a date for all those who are misleading our youth and who are politicizing issues of religion, issues of ethnicity, and what have you, and using these to divide us as a nation. You see, as our people will say, there is never any smoke without a fire. And anyone who is preaching evil or teaching evil to young people, to children, and breeding wickedness in a nation should be ready for disaster.
As a matter of fact, the way forward are in the book. Maybe you need to read the book, for government to pay more attention to the security officers, their welfare, remuneration, equip them better than they are now. Then, as a matter of fact, social welfare for the people, because the way it is now in the country, you discover that most of our youths, able bodies, they are idle. And so it becomes very easier for them, for the terrorist group, to engage them and to employ them.
In captivity, she becomes the heroine of faith, as all eyes are on the government of Muhammadu Buhari to fulfill its promises of freeing Leah Sharibu. Loretta Chiogo, Plus TV News.
The federal government has ordered that train services on the Abuja-Kaduna route resume. Train services had been suspended on the route after terrorists attacked and abducted scores of passengers in March, most of whom are still in captivity. The Nigerian Railway Corporation said the decision to resume services does not mean that efforts to rescue and secure the release of those abducted will be put on hold. It is too late to tinker with the schedule of activities for the 2023 general election. That's according to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, stated this while speaking against the backdrop of the 2-month extension for the deadline for the conduct of parties' primary recently sought by the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. According to him, any change in the June 3rd deadline will affect other activities for elections and would amount to arbitrariness to adjust the election timetable. Members of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, have blocked major roads in some cities in Oyo, Edo, and Ondo states in a protest against the prolonged industrial action by members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and that's as a result of several failed negotiations with the federal government. While protesting students of the University of Ibadan blocked the school's entrance in the state capital, those from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, LAUTECH, barricaded the major road along the major road where the institution is situated, that's in Ogbomoso. The students also called on the state governor, Seyi Makinde, to ensure public universities in the state back out of ASU, just as it was done in some states for academic activities to resume. In Edo State, students of the University of Benin cordoned off the Benin Auchi Ramat Park axis of the state capital and later proceeded to the Federal Secretariat in Benin City to present their case to the government. At the Secretariat, they were received by the director, Jeremiah Abu, who assured them of the government's support and urged them to conduct themselves peacefully. In Ondo, students of the Federal University of Technology, FUTA, barricaded the Akure-Elisha Highway, condemning the lingering crisis by the lecturers. And still on education matters, ASU, the Joint Action Committee of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities have all said that the federal government did not reach a strong agreement with them that can lead to the cooling off of the industrial actions. The national leaders of ASU, SANU, and NASU, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, Mohammed Ibrahim, said that the federal government and all stakeholders in the education sector, including religious leaders, had a meeting with the 4 unions, but that no strong agreements were reached, even though the Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, was quoted as saying that some agreements were reached during the meeting to the satisfaction of everybody in attendance. Osodeke said Ngige's claim that the strike would be called off was just a political statement. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Timothy Silva, has withdrawn from the presidential race in the All Progressives Congress and has returned to work. The Northern Solidarity Group had on May 9th presented the APC's expression of interest and nomination form to the minister to enable him contest the party's 2023 presidential primaries. An official at the ministry who chose to remain anonymous said Silva withdrew from the race to support President Muhammadu Buhari in his quest to achieve a robust oil sector. Still on politics, the Action Democratic Party's governorship candidate in the June 18 governorship election in Ekiti State, Kemi Elebute Hali, has said that the defection of her deputy governorship aspirant, Idowu Afuye, contravened the Electoral Act. Elebute Hali, while addressing a press conference in Ado Ekiti, the state capital, submitted that her deputy candidate has not informed her of his defection to the All Progressives Congress, APC. She stated that she's not working for any political party nor stepping down for any candidates.
I believe that those who pushed him to that level would have been able to understand Electoral Act. That the moment a candidate is being published on INEC list, you don't quit. I think the political party who might have pushed him and put him under political stress, call it a speculation. Because up to now, my deputy governor had not formally informed me about it. I clearly debunk that I am working for SDP or any political party that I want to sell.
The Director General of the Yahaya Bello Presidential Campaign Organization, Hafsat Abiola Costello, has said that she is standing with Governor Yahaya Bello in the race for the All Progressives Congress's presidential ticket because she has seen him in qualities of the kind of leader that Nigeria needs at this time. Abiola Costello, daughter of the winner of the 1993 presidential election, late Chief MKO Abiola, said she chose Governor Bello over all other southwestern aspirants because she has seen him in a true commitment to the progress of the country. The DG also reiterated that with the ongoing work in the campaign, she was very sure that her principal would be victorious at the primaries, notwithstanding the political stamina of some others in the race.
Only 19 states in Nigeria have been able to create jobs according to the National Bureau of Statistics, and Kogi State happens to be one of them. So this is a state that is being able to grow its economy, but not the kind of growth that we generally see in Nigeria, where you read about it in the newspapers that the country is growing, but when you look all around you, people are suffering. This is a state that is actually looking for progress by improving the lives of common people. So many have asked, and many are incredibly alarmed that I'm standing before you, a Yoruba girl, a Yoruba woman, representing a candidate from North Central, at a time when some Yoruba believe that it is their turn to be in office. In Kogi State, through the leadership of the Governor Yahaya Bello, they're trying to make sure that they balance carefully on the side of security, on the side of harmony. And I think that these kinds of examples and practical approaches is very much required at federal level, but not just at the federal level, but to serve as an example to the whole country, because security is not something that President Buhari can deliver on his own, or even if we have President Yahaya Bello in office in Abuja next year, he would not be able to deliver it on his own. He would need to work through the states. But we believe that the examples he has been able to demonstrate at state level.
The Supreme Court has scheduled hearing for May 19 in the suit by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami. The scheduling is not only reflected in the court's case list for the week, but the parties have since been served hearing notices, according to the court. The suit, filed on April 29, 2022, has the National Assembly listed as the sole defendant. The plaintiffs are contending, among others, that the said section of the Electoral Act 2022, that is Section 84, subsection 12, is in conflict with constitutional provisions. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed May 24 for the definite hearing in a suit instituted against President Muhammadu Buhari by the PDP on Section 14, subsection 11 and 12 of the Electoral Act 2022. Justice Inyang Eko fixed the date to enable the President and the PDP address the court on the effect of the judgment of the Court of Appeal in Abuja, which declared the contentious Section 84, subsection 12 as unconstitutional, null and void. Also from the court, a Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered the Accountant General of the Federation to immediately halt the distribution of more than 1 trillion naira due to oil-producing states, pending the determination of the suit before it. The trial judge in the matter, Justice A.R. Mohammed, in an interim injunction, held that the distribution of the derivation funds without the indices of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission was injurious to the applicant, which is Imo State government. The People's Democratic Party's governorship aspirant in Rivers State, Farah Dagogo, has again been remanded in Port Harcourt Correctional Center by a Federal High Court. Justice Chiwendu Nwogu remanded Dagogo, who was arraigned in court earlier today after listening to arguments from the defense and prosecution teams, and adjourned till May 20 to rule on the motion and counter-motion moved by the legal teams involved in the matter. This is the second time Dagogo would be remanded. Out of the court now, police in Anambra State have confirmed the burning of the headquarters of Idemili North local government area in Ogidi in the early hours of today. Combined response by security operatives and the natives helped to repel the criminals, according to the police. The Magistrates Court building and office of the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company, EEDC, within the complex were also affected. Also, the police in Anambra State has confirmed the kidnapping of Mr. Okechukwu Okoye, a lawmaker representing Agwata Constituency 1 in the State House of Assembly. Okoye was kidnapped in Agwata on Sunday. His black Sienna bus, which he was driving before the incident, has been recovered. Also killed was a member of a vigilante group who was on a motorcycle. Normalcy has since been restored to the area, but the police has urged everyone to remain calm and also safety conscious. And still from Anambra, the state command said it has killed 2 gunmen, allegedly enforcing Monday's sit-at-home order despite its cancellation by the leadership of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB. The state public relations officer Tochukwu Ikenga, in a statement in Oka, said the incident happened along Omunza Road in Orumba South local government area of the state when some miscreants obstructed the movement of innocent road users going about their businesses. The PPRO said the command had intensified patrol within the state and is still keeping up to that. The Borno Police Command said it has successfully defused a bomb planted by Boko Haram and the Islamic State of the West African province ISWAP insurgents at Dalori, internally displaced persons camp IDP, located a few kilometers from Maiduguri along the Maiduguri-Bama Road in Kunduga local government area of the state. The bomb scare started earlier today when an item concealed in a sack thought to be an improvised explosive device was spotted, causing panic as the residents of the camp abandoned their shelters and fled. The Commissioner of Police, Abdul Umar, who confirmed the incident at a press briefing, said that the explosive ordnance disposal personnel of the command were immediately dispatched to the scene for disposal and evacuation. Now to other matters. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arrested the Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, over an $80 billion naira fraud. EFCC spokesman Wilson Uwajaren, who confirmed his arrest in a statement, said that Idris was arrested after failing to honor the Commission's invitations to respond to issues connected to fraudulent act. According to the Commission statement, the Commission's verified intelligence showed that the AGF raked off the funds through bogus consultancies and other illegal activities using proxies, family members, and close associates. EFCC said the funds were laundered via real estate investments in Kano and Abuja. The suspended acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, has been promoted to the level of Assistant Inspector General of Police. The Police Service Commission spokesperson, Ikechukwu Ani, who announced Magu's elevation, said he was promoted at the 15th plenary meeting of the Commission alongside some 7 commissioners of police who were also promoted to Assistant Inspectors General of Police. He said the Commission also approved the promotion of 23 deputy commissioners to the next rank of commissioners of police, 31 assistant commissioners to deputy commissioners of police, and 63 chief superintendents of police promoted to assistant commissioners of police. An officer of the Nigerian Correctional Service in Kano State has allegedly shot a trader over an argument that ensued between him and the trader in Gorondutse area of the state. Eyewitnesses say the official and the trader were arguing over the price of a cigarette stick before the trader was allegedly shot by the official. The Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Correctional Service in Kano, Musbahu Lawan, told Plus TV News that the officer involved on the order of the State Controller of Corrections has been arrested and a panel has been set up to investigate the circumstances surrounding the ugly incident. He added that the controller of the Kano State Command of the NCS, Suleiman Inua, has condoled with the family of the trader and assured that the case will be duly investigated and appropriate actions taken according to the provisions of the law. Now, as part of measures towards finding a lasting solution to a series of issues bedeviling the transport sector, the Lagos State government has unveiled plans to deploy the use of technology for effective movement. The Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladende, said that this would take the front burner at the maiden edition of a National Transport Technology Conference and Exhibition scheduled to hold in June 2022. Plus TV correspondent Lobby Kukoyedoku now reports.
This press conference is heralding the maiden edition of the National Transport Technology Conference and Exhibition, NTTCE, coming up in Lagos. The 2 days conference will see key decision makers, experts and operators in the road, rail, water and air transport sectors discussing current and emerging trends in the sector, as well as fashioning out ways of integrating them into the Nigerian transportation space. Oladende spoke on the importance of a national transportation policy which if all state governments key into, with coordination and harmony, could bring about an effective transport system.
What kind of investment do we need? Who are the key players? Who are the people willing to invest? And then what will be government's commitment? So every smart city must have a plan. We're developing a smart Nigeria. We're developing a smart Lagos. You must have a plan to get to that point. And the aim of this conference is to develop that community that would help to develop a plan and then to look at some of the obstacles to see what government's responsibility would be and then what the private sector's responsibility would be.
He believes that the national policy on transportation will bring an end to leakages and corruption in the sector.
We move away from, exchanging cash to ensuring that once you have a card, everything is computerized and that there's no exchange of cash, there's no way you can dupe other people, and then everything will be transparent. Now, the reason why you have 100 naira ticket and then you're paying 1,000 is because everything is paper ticket, is not electronic. And that's why it's important that we move all our transactions from a cash system to a cashless system.
On her part, the Executive Secretary, National Transport Technology Conference and Exhibition, NTTCE, comprising of all commissioners of transportation in Nigeria, said that technology has been identified by the forum as a roadmap to ensuring safety, security, and revenue generation in the transportation sector.
This event promises to be an all-inclusive one as it seeks to galvanize players within transportation and the technology sector to explore innovative solutions as well as fashion out workable action plans that will integrate transport, integrate smart transportation within the sector for the benefit of Nigerians.
Chinwe disclosed that the resolutions from the conference are respected to usher in an action plan which the federal government could draw policies from to enhance transportation in the country. From Lagos, Love Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
The resident electoral commissioner REC of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Oyo State, Mutiu Agboke, has advised accountants to see themselves as critical change agents in ending corruption and other related sharp practices across all sectors in the country. Speaking with journalists after delivering his paper on accounting and the law implications for practitioners at the inauguration of the new executive of the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, ANAN, Agboke noted that accountants play key roles in the nation's development and economic growth. Therefore, they must refrain from corrupt practices at all times. The state chairman of the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, Isa Olude Owolabi, advocated the dichotomy between accountants in different professional bodies be eradicated.
They should not aid and abet corruption. Nobody, whether private or public organization, nobody will be able to go scot-free with corruption if an accountant does not have a hand in it. So, as a professional now, they are supposed to be the gatekeeper of their conscience, gatekeeper of the trust. Because, you know, when you're an accountant, you deal with figures, you deal with monies, and if you are not contented with your art, you are likely to be tempted. So, it's a message for them that if there's any window for them to be corrupt, they should avoid it.
You cannot develop without accountants. There's a clear distinction between the role of an accountant and that of an economist. Nigeria as a nation has not taken adequate care of accountants as affects our national life. You know that the concept of accounting revolves around the principles of confidentiality, objectivity, skill and competence, and credibility. Except, of course, and a nation concentrate on this fundamental principle of accounting, such a nation cannot develop economically.
The federal government has said that despite its efforts to leverage the benefits of tax exemptions and concessions, the incentive has rather led to a huge revenue loss for Nigeria. The government said that although it was committed to reducing tax expenditure, the nation's current revenue to gross domestic product ratio of about 7% was poor and unsatisfactory. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said that on tax expenditure organized by the Economic Community of West African States under the context of the implementation of support program for tax transition in West Africa. Still ahead, Guinea-Bissau's president dissolves parliament. Details when we return. You're welcome back. Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, who returned to power after a marathon vote, is a former academic and peace activist whose first term was marred by accusations of corruption and infighting. He was president between 2012 and 2017. He then distinguished himself by his fierce criticism of outgoing head of state, Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed, known as Farmajo, who defeated him 5 years ago. He will have to face several major challenges. A historic drought, which could lead to famine, is raging in the country, which is also plagued by an insurgency of radical Islamists. President Joe Biden has reportedly authorized the redeployment of several hundreds of American troops into Somalia, reversing the decision made by Donald Trump when he was in office and withdrawing nearly all 700 ground troops who had been stationed there. U.S. intelligence officials estimate that al-Shabaab has up to 10,000 members, even though it fights inside Somalia, according to officials who say some members have ambitions to strike the U.S. It's not known how many soldiers President Biden has authorized, but they are said to be part of the Special Operations Force that will be on ground inside Somalia. And in Guinea-Bissau, the president Umaru Sissoko Embalo has dissolved the parliament 3 months after he had said he had survived a coup attempt. The president, in a statement, accused the lawmakers of corruption and also cited persistent and unresolved differences with parliament. Embalo dismissed the government but kept both the prime minister and his deputy in place in order to keep things running until the next legislative elections. The chairman of the African Union, Macky Sall, has called for the creation of an African financial rating agency in the face of sometimes very arbitrary evaluations by international agencies that exaggerate the risk of investment in Africa. They say it increases the cost of credit. Sall spoke of the need to have a Pan-African rating agency in the face of injustices, ratings that are sometimes very arbitrary. And the deadliest attack targeted the Volunteers for the Defense of the Fatherland VDP in the town of Gissel in the Sahel region, killing some 20 people, including 8 VDP, that according to official statement. And according to one of the leaders, 5 other auxiliaries and a civilian were killed in Makoye, in the same region, on the same day, speaking of a series of attacks that mainly targeted the Volunteers. A security source in the region confirmed that in the southeastern province of Kompenga, close to the borders with Togo and Benin, a convoy of civilians escorted by army auxiliaries was targeted by an attack, adding that about 15 civilians were killed. The United Kingdom will send the first batch of asylum seekers to Rwanda in the coming days, a month after a deal to resettle illegal migrants was signed with the East African country. Under the scheme, for which Kigali will be paid $160 million, asylum seekers arriving on small boats across the English Channel from France will immediately be transferred to Rwanda, where their paperwork will be processed. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that 50 people who had arrived illegally in the country after crossing the channel had been informed that they would be flown to Rwanda. Outside Africa, Sweden's Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson has said that the government has formally decided to apply for NATO membership, setting it on the road toward ending the military non-alignment that lasted throughout the Cold War. Andersson said that the application could be handed in on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday and would be synchronized with Finland's. Sweden's governing Social Democrats dropped their 73-year-old opposition to joining NATO and are hoping for a quick accession following Russia's February 24 invasion of Ukraine. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin has said that Russia had no issue with Finland and Sweden, but that the expansion of military infrastructure on their territory would demand a reaction from Moscow as the Nordic countries move closer to joining NATO. Putin, who was speaking in Moscow at a summit of the Russian-led Collective Security Treaty Organization, said NATO's expansion was a problem for Russia and that it must look closely at what he said were the US-led military alliance's plans to increase its global influence. US paratroopers taking part in NATO's training in at an undisclosed location as part of another exercise codenamed Swift Response, one of the biggest ever NATO exercises in the Baltics, is now underway. Named Hedgehog, the drills involve 10 countries, including Finland and Sweden, which are expected to formally apply to join the alliance within days. The exercises in Estonia which will last until the 3rd of June, were arranged before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The exercise has taken place 40 miles from Russia's nearest military base and is intended to stimulate an attack from Russia on Estonia. Coming up next, Nigeria's inflation rate jumps to 16.82% in April 2022, the highest in 8 months. That's in business news after this short break.
Hey, welcome to Business News. The World Bank is set to offer the Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, a loan to rehabilitate the failed sections of the Tinkan Island Port and the Lagos Ports Complex, LPC Apapa. And this is if the concessionaires operating the affected terminals fail to commit to fix the port on time. Addressing reporters in Lagos over the weekend, its managing director, Dr. Mohammed Bello Koko, said many years ago, NPA had approached the World Bank for a similar assistance. He bemoaned the 2-week notice he and his colleagues gave operators before entering the terminal for inspection. And Nigeria spent 86% of its revenue on servicing debt in 2021, but South Africa spent only 20% of its receipts on the same purpose. And this is according to the International Monetary Fund's 2021 Article 4 estimates. And South Africa's budget office, situated in the National Treasury, explained that for every 5 rand raised by the government, only 1 rand was spent on servicing debt. And Nigeria's inflation rose to 16.82% in April 2022, following a similar uptick recorded in the previous month as a result of the increase in energy and food prices. And this represents the highest rate recorded since August 2021. And this is according to the recently released Consumer Price Index report released by the National Bureau of Statistics. The Consumer Price Index, which measures the rate of inflation, rose by 16.82% year-on-year in April 2022, and which is 0.9% points higher than the 15.92% recorded in the previous month of March 2022. On a month-on-month basis, the headline index increased by 1.76% in April 2022, compared to 1.74% increase recorded in the previous month. And the European stock indexes opened lower today after oil prices slid and riskier currencies took a hit during the Asian session. And this is as unexpectedly weak economic data from China highlighted fears about a slowdown in growth. China's April retail sales plunged 11.1% on the year, almost twice the fall forecast as full or partial COVID-19 lockdowns were imposed in dozens of cities. Industrial output dropped 2.9% when analyses had looked for a slight increase. Investors are worried that inflation pushing up interest rates will damage the global economy, and these fears saw global shares hit their lowest point in 18 months last week. And that's Business News. Thanks for watching. I am Destiny Momo. The news continues.
And coming up next is entertainment news. Take a look.
Burna Boy performed his latest song Last Last for the first time at the Billboard Music Awards. It was another feat for him as he also made his debut at the BBMA's performance. Last Last, which was released on Friday, was Burna Boy's first single off his next album, Love Damini. In a video shared on Billboard's official page before the performance, Burna Boy talked about making his debut at the prestigious award ceremony, which was held at MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. Big Brother Naija has opened applications for the next set of participants in the Season 7 edition. The show has in fact officially begun its audition for Season 7. This was announced on the BB Naija official Instagram page yesterday. Interested contestants had to visit the official Big Brother Naija website to apply. Kourtney Kardashian has legally married her drummer boyfriend Travis Barker. The couple tied the knot at the downtown courthouse in Santa Barbara, California. They walked into the chapel and presented their marriage license to the chapel owner, who also served as witness. The couple did not allow the venue to take pictures as they employed a personal photographer and security. Neither Kourtney's sister nor the kids were spotted at the wedding or the celebration after. The 95th Academy Awards will take place on Sunday, March 12, 2023. The Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences announced that next year's ceremony will be held at the Dolby Theatre, which marks the earliest they have taken place since 2020. Oscar nomination voting will take place between January 12 and 17, with the nominations announcement on January 24. Meanwhile, final voting will open from March 2nd to March 7th, closing 5 days before the Oscar ceremony.
And finally on the news is sports news.
Hello and welcome to Sports News on Plus TV Africa. Liverpool are still assessing the fitness of Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk ahead of Tuesday's Premier League trip to 15th placed Southampton, where they could close the gap on leaders Manchester City to 1 point, manager Jurgen Klopp said on Monday. Both players were substituted during Saturday's FA Cup final against Chelsea, which Liverpool won on penalties to lift their second trophy of the season. Klopp added that defensive midfielder Fabinho, who missed the win over Chelsea with a hamstring injury, will remain sidelined for the game at St Mary's Stadium. Liverpool trail reigning champion City by 4 points with 2 games left, but Klopp said he did not expect Pep Guardiola's side, who drew 2-2 at West Ham United on Sunday, to slip up again when they host Aston Villa this weekend. The German also called on the English Football Association to make more Cup winners' medals available, saying that while squads have got bigger, the number of medals issued has stayed the same.
This process, this football is not finished yet because we only played the 120 minutes 2 days ago. So when the boys arrive today, I have to make a lot of decisions. And then we will line up a team. What I can promise, and definitely, and say we will line up a team, and only for one reason: to try to win the game at Southampton, as difficult as it is, because that obviously is the job to do. And